Hello everybody and welcome to Formula Sim Racing for round 11 of the Ace Division here from Hungary. The qualifying session has only just got underway as drivers are on their out laps, and I'm Dave Paling. I'll be your commentator today. First off, I'd like to apologise for not being able to do a live stream on tonight's or today's event. Unfortunately, I've been having problems doing live streams, so we're going to go for a recording, and drivers are on track already. But the big news for today's event is that the championship leader, Sander Kallas, is not racing today, meaning that if Felix van Delft is able to take victory, he'd close the championship lead down to about 75 points. However, I don't believe Felix van Delft is racing today either, unfortunately. So we'll focus on what's happening on the track, and I'll go through the driver standings at the end of qualifying. George Chatsipantelis heading through turn 4 on his first fly-in lap, and I know George has not been feeling too well lately, so he's not had a lot of practice, which could hurt him here at such a tight, twisty track. 14 turns around the Hungaro ring, many of them medium speed corners, using a lot of aerodynamics around this particular track. And this corner, turn 11, one of the crucial corners on the circuit, heading down to turn 12, one of the many one of the few overtaking places around this particular track. Into the penultimate corner, trying to get the car slowed down quite nicely, feeding the power on, but it's looking a little bit twitchy for George at the moment. Throwing it into the final corner, such a long, never-ending turn, and now heading towards the start-finish line, and it's going to be provisional pole with a 120.3. However, I did see that in practice, Sergi Edas was able to get into the 118s to the 118.6, and he's looking like he's on a very good lap at the moment. He's done a 28.0 sector 1, which is almost purple. Christoph Schoer actually has purple sector 1 at the moment with a 27.9. But Sergi Edas into turn 12, quite a nice apex there. The rear end of his car looking a lot more stable as Shyam Najam has gone and popped himself into provisional pole on a 19.4. I do think that Sergi is going to be heading towards the 18s on this particular lap. So round the final corner and across the line he goes, and it is a 118.986. Is anybody else going to be able to get close to that? Danny van der Niet is on a lap at the moment, so jump on board with him. He's done a 27.9 sector 1, that's purple for him and for everybody else. 27.2 sector 2 time, couple of tenths down, actually 4 tenths down off Sergi Edas, so maybe Danny van der Niet's gone for a little less aeros. Across the line he goes into second place, half a second off Sergi Edas at the moment. Victor Ivanov coming through turn 12. Let's see, 28.0, decent sector 1 time. He's had a very good sector 2 time, a 26.9. But George Winter's actually just gone purple in sector 2, so we'll be jumping on board with him next. So let's see how Victor Ivanov gets on around the final corner. Quite a nice line through there. Pops himself into second place, 4 tenths off. So George Winter, what have you got? Crosses the line and he goes, half a tenth. That was close, ever so close right there. Lucas Schmidt now starting his first lap of the session. Turn 1, such a tricky little braking zone, but you've got to be very aggressive with the brakes. Got to be confident. Now into turn 2. You want to carry the speed into the corner, but don't let it run too wide, and Lucas hasn't. Absolutely flat out now through turn 3, and then heading up to the corner I call the Massa curve. We all know why. Turn 4. Nice apex, or maybe just about stayed on the curb, and then hoping that the rear end doesn't step out around the exit of turn 5 into the flip-flap chicane of turn 6 and 7. Do not touch the sausage curbs. If you do, it's going to be a disaster. Into turns 8 and 9, hold off the speed. Misses the apex by a mile, but he's driving aggressively. 28.1 sector 1. Let's see what his sector 2 time's going to be. A nice turn 11. Sector 2's looking good. It's a 26.8, just needs a good final 2 corners. But everything you've gained throughout the lap you can lose in this penultimate corner very easily. Takes the early apex, keeps it tight, plants the throttle, control that rear end quite nicely. So Lucas, what have you got? He's really hammering the throttle on the exit of the final corner, and across the line he goes, puts himself into third place, just over a tenth off pole position. George Chatsipantelis is back out there on track again, just about to complete another lap. Does he improve? Unfortunately, if he improved on his own time, but not on position. Let's see, DeWald Nell, he's in the pits at the moment, just heading out for his out lap, while Shyam Najam is on another flying lap, so we'll jump on board with him quickly. I will mention as well, two drivers do have penalties for this race. Luke Maguire has a back of the grid, but unfortunately he's unable to race today. And then I believe it's Dmitry Zadahov has a 10-place grid penalty. I will just quickly check that. Yeah, it is a 10-place grid penalty for Dmitry Zadahov. So all he needs to do is make sure if he pops it on pole, he'll start 11th. So we're quite happy with that. At the moment, he can't start any lower than 13th. So he's pretty much alright wherever he qualifies to a degree. So Shyam Najam round the final corner then. Let's see if he's up on his own time, but can he improve any more? Jumps up to 5th place for Shyam Najam. Danny van der Nies on another lap, but he's gone slower in Sector 1. Arif Roslan is out there on a lap at the moment. 28.1 Sector 1, 27.1 Sector 2. 3/10 off the pole sitter at the moment through Sector 2. Crosses the line, stays 7th place. You know what? I think what I might have to do is see if I can get on board with somebody. And seeing as Sergei Adas is out on track at the moment, he's on a flying lap. I want to see what kind of top speeds these guys are getting up to. Actually, I could do that, because the top speed will clearly indicate what kind of aerodynamics these guys have gone for. So let's see, Sergei Adas with a 293, George Vinter 291. So yeah, let's see, Shyam Najam went 292. So they're all running very similar kinds of aerodynamic packages at the moment. So Sergei Adas leading the way on 118.9, but he's improved Sector 1. He's purple Sector 2 with a 26.7. This is going to be an improvement on his lap, but by how much? Not a lot in the end. He lost a bit of time in that final sector, but he does improve it by 0.5 See Victor Ivanov, he's not far off completing a lap. Yeah, coming around the final corner. George Vinter just gone purple in Sector 1 as well, so we're going to jump on board with him. This is going to be one frantic qualifying session. Obviously you'll notice that there is only 13 drivers on the grid for this Ace race, which is a bit of a shame, but it doesn't mean that these guys aren't going to be able to keep me busy in the commentary box. So George Vinter, 27.8 Sector 1. Can he improve on his Sector 2? Lost quite a bit of time through here last time through. Oh, purple again, 26.737. He's 2/10 up on his own personal best time. This would be a provisional pole lap. He's just got to make sure he absolutely nails his final two corners. Oh, a little bit understeer through the penultimate. That could have cost him those 2/10. A little bit more understeer in the final corner. Patient with the throttle though. Looking very planted on the rear end. And does he improve? Yes, he does. He goes pole by just over 1/10 of a second. That may have just annoyed Sergei Adas a little bit, and I'm sure he's going to be heading out there to improve on his lap time. Sergei did manage to do an 18.6 in practice, so I wouldn't be surprised if we see him improve on that again. But sometimes the stress and the pressure can get to you. Fabian Ruth now heading into turn 12, putting in his personal best sectors, but then it is only his first flying lap. So they're going to be personal best sectors. Let's see, 27.9 Sector 1, that's very good. It's only a 10th off pole position, but middle sector he's lost 0.7 of a second. Very cautious around the final corner. Across the line he goes, and that's 10th place for Fabian Ruth. Dmitry Zadahov, the only driver yet to qualify at the moment, and that could be tactical with this kind of session. So let's see who is out there at the moment. Lucas Schmidt is on a lap, but yeah, I mean, for Dmitry Zadahov, it might be it might be wise, or what wishful thinking is perhaps doing a little bit. If he qualifies on the option tyre and gets into the top 10, he gets a 10-place grid penalty, has to start on the option tyre. But he's going to have to qualify 3rd or above to be higher than 13th. So, is he going to sit there in the pits, not qualify, start the race at the back in 13th on the prime tyre anyway? That could be a very, very shrewd move. So Lucas Schmidt has improved sector 1, he's improved his sector 2, he's 2/10 off the leader at the moment though. But what's this far? Oh, a little twitchy on the exit curb, and oh, he lost 2/10. That little twitch cost him 2/10 of a second, and that's Lucas Schmidt back into the pits. So is Sergi Eras, is he back out there? Yes, he is. He's setting himself up a little bit. Let's see, Shyam Najam's on a flying lap though, so we'll go and jump on board with Shyam Najam. He's done 27.9. 27.9, sector 1 being pretty good. 27.8 I think is one of the best we've seen so far. So Shyam losing a little bit. Christoph Schoer has just matched Najam in sector 1. So how's Najam's car handling through turn 11? A little bit tricky, he had to downshift. It's a 26.9 sector 2 time, is nearly 2/10 up on his previous best. So if he can carry that through the final sector, he will gain a position. But again, a lot of understeer, now loads of oversteer. That'll be the lap gone, I fear. Because he's going to need one hell of an exit with a rocket booster on the rear of that car to improve, I reckon. Now let's see, is he going to get higher than 6th? No, he doesn't. He did lose almost all of those 2/10 in that final penultimate corner. Christoph Schoer, let's see, I mentioned he'd matched sector 1. He's down a little bit, sector 2, 27.0, but a much better final sector. Jumps himself up to 5th place with a 3/10 improvement. So Sergi Eras now on his next flying lap, and he's realised he's got a little bit of a challenge from George Winter. And George Winter, over the course of the Ace season, has tended to run lower wings at a lot of tracks, going for maximum speed rather than maximum grip. Sergi Eras going for the grip though, by the looks of how his car handled turn 4. It's a personal improvement on sector 1, only by half a tenth of a second. The sector 2 is where he needs to try and gain a little bit more time. He has been lacking a little bit there. I say lacking a little bit, he's still second at the moment. Oh, turn 11, nicely done. Turn 11 now, nicely done. Just a lift, no downshift, and he did improve. It's a purple sector 2. He needs to find a little bit more time. He's got it down to about half a second gap to George Winter. Needs to absolutely nail the final corner now. Throws it in early, going for the tighter apex. Makes it trickier on the exit to plan that throttle, but it's looking quite nice. And can he take pole? No, he can't. He did get an improvement, but it was not enough. Let's see, Viktor Ivanov, he's on another flying lap. Coming thick and fast at the moment. These guys not know they've got 20 minutes to set these lap times. Let's see, Viktor Ivanov lost a little bit of time in sector 2 there, but being up on his own time is always good. Let's see, sitting in 6th place at the moment. Yeah, if he can carry that through, he will go past Christoph Schoer. The final corner, it's a corner you can lose so much time so easily, and when you get it right, you know you've got it right. And unfortunately, Viktor Ivanov lost a little bit of time in there. George Chatsipantelis just about across the line, improves, goes to 9th place. Not bad. Not bad for not a lot of practice. Let's see, George Winter. Oh, he's matched Sergi Eras in sector 1, but he's down by half a tenth through sector 1 on his own time. Is he going to be able to gain any more through sector 2? Maybe George has gone for adding aeros at this event rather than carrying less aeros. Again, didn't sound like he downshifted, but he's losing a lot of time. Maybe he's just pushed a little bit too hard on the tyres here. Tyres are available at the red marked options, the white marked primes, and they're the same tyres that we take to every race of this season. So at one track then the options might last 20 laps, at another they might only last 10. So George, are you improving at the end of this lap? I've got a feeling not. No, he doesn't lose his time all the way around, but I'm sure he learned something while he was out there. So to Lucas Schmidt then, he's currently 3/10 off the pole sitter, but he's on another flying lap. So ideally he needs to try and get a sector 1 time of a 27.8 or lower. It's a 27.9, so he's down. Well, he's improved on his own previous best, but he's down on 1st and 2nd through sector 1 alone. See how he gets on through turns 6 and 7. Beautiful apex, plant the throttle, go, 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 and he does. That was sweetly through turn 6 and 7 there. That would have gained him some time as long as he can carry it through the remainder of the sector. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Oh, look at that. 4/10 up. Oh, this is a good lap from Lucas Schmidt. He's on for taking pole position. A car ahead of him though, in the barrier, a little bit of debris in the road. Lucas hit it. I hope that hasn't cost him any time. I think it's put him off a little bit. Car looking a little bit more twitchy. Yeah, very aggressive through the final corner. I reckon he's going to lose 2 tenths or 3 tenths overall. He lost, but he improved. Ooh. I tell you, that sector 2 was all down to how he took turn 6 and 7 as Fabian Roof decides to test the tarmac runoff area through turn 5. Oh, tell you what, Lucas got me so excited then, I think I'm going to need a drink. But yeah, how how Lucas took that turn 6 and 7 chicane just gave him such a time advantage. On board with Christoph Schoer. Let's see how he's going to get on for his flying lap. I'm just going to have a quick drink, so apologies for a moment. So Christoph then setting himself up for his last flying lap, I believe this will be. So as he makes that surprisingly long run towards turn 1. It's quite a long run from the start of the race as well. Braking hard. Viktor Ivanov's just gone 27.9 in sector 1, but I think he may have abandoned that lap. I'm not sure. So Christoph through turn 2 now. Not a fan of this corner myself, but I do like this one. Any corner that's flat out is a corner I like. So can Christoph get himself into the high 27s of sector times? He does, but it's not as fast as he's been before. But it's so close. If he keeps pushing, he may be able to improve. Let's see how he gets on through turn 6-7. I call it the flip flap. I'm sure many other people have many other names for it, but a beautiful through there as well for Christoph. A little twitchy on the exit, but yeah, quite a nice line through there. He may be able to improve on this sector just like Lucas did. Depends on whether he's carried that momentum. Missed the apex a little bit, runs a little wide, but he has carried the momentum a little bit. It's a 26.9 sector 2 time, so not gained as much as Lucas, but he may be able to finish the lap strong. And I think George Winter, Sergei Eras, Lucas Schmidt and Danny van der Neet may all be back out on track on their final out laps. So Christoph Schoer around the final corner for the final time in qualifying. What can you do? And he does improve on his lap time, but unfortunately not on his position. Danny van der Neet then, first through sector 1 of the top 4 from qualifying at the moment. He's improved on his own. Oh, George Winter, I've just seen has gone purple. Sector 1, a nice turn 6 and 7 for Danny van der Neet. But I want to go and have a look at and see how George Winter's going to get on through there. Oh, a little bit wider, a little bit deeper into turn 6, only by a fraction, but he may have compromised him just enough. Let's see how Danny van der Neet gets on through sector 2. He's up a tiny amount on his own sectors. But George Winter, he's lost time. Excuse me, George Winter, I don't think he's going to be able to improve on his final qualifying lap. So go back to Danny van der Neet. Can you gain anything extra in this last corner? It is his last lap. And he does. He goes into 3rd place. Knocks Lucas Schmidt down into 4th. George Winter crosses the line and does improve on his lap time by 0.001. But Sergei Eras is still out there on track. Just gone through sector 1 into turn 6 and 7 now. Quite nicely through turn 6 and 7 as well. It's such a horrible, crucial corner of this particular racetrack. Now I'm sure Sergei will have heard that I've mentioned his name wrong a few times. Tough, I'm afraid. But I'm sure he will have seen the sector time that Lucas Schmidt did through sector 2, and I don't think he's been able to get close to it. Let's see, 26.8, no, he's still a few tenths off, but he may still be able to improve through the final 2 corners. Lucas Schmidt has done a 27.9 sector 1 time, so I'll jump to him next. But can he improve? Can he steal pole position? No, he can't. That's unfortunate for Sergei. Lucas Schmidt is 3 tenths down overall through sectors 1 and 2. Now he did lose quite a bit of time in the final sector last time around. Whether he's going to be able to pull those 3 tenths in, I do not know. It'd need to be an absolutely perfect final sector, and I don't think it has been, unfortunately. A lot of understeer is pushing the car harder than it probably can handle. and across the line, and it is 4th place. We've got DeWald Nell still out on track, coming around the final corner for the final time, and he improves up to 5th place for DeWald Nell, and that is qualifying over with George Vinter taking pole position by 0.048 of a second. I'm sure the 0.047 of a second was painful enough, but he went and extended that gap a tiny little bit more. Okay, we're going to be heading into the practice session now, so I'm just going to run a quick intro and I'll be back with you in a few moments' time. Well, what a qualifying session we had there. Welcome back, folks. Sorry, I came back to the live screen before I had finished having my drink. Excuse me. But yeah, what a phenomenal qualifying session we've just had there. And I've got to admit, the highlight of that was definitely the way that Lucas Schmidt took the turn 6, turn 7. It doesn't matter about the rest of the track. Okay, some may say it does matter about the rest of the track, but it doesn't matter about the rest of the track if you get those 2 corners wrong, of which Lucas Schmidt got them absolutely beautiful. I mean, I could tell straight away he'd nailed that. And that's the thing with that corner and many of the other corners around this track. It could be a nightmare to drive around here, but you really do know when you get it right. And he will have known before he'd have even got to the sector time, before he'd have got a chance to have a look at his delta time. He would have known he'd gained a lot of time there. He'll be massively frustrated that there was a car in that final sector that had a bit of debris on the road, and I think he may even be more frustrated that it looked like it may have been an Avid Chronic racing car that was in the barrier there as well. So it might be his own teammate's car that's cost him a little bit of lap time. Now, it does look like Dmitry Zanahoff has done what I said he might do for qualifying. Basically not gone out, not set a time, going to start at the back, and I reckon he'll start on the prime tyre. But I'll get on to strategy in a few moments' time. Because one thing that I would like to do is go through the Drivers' Championship standings, because I think if Sander Kallas had been racing here today, I think maybe he could have taken the championship here. However, he isn't on the track at the moment, which is a bit of a shame. But I will go through the championship standings because I do think they are obviously very, very relevant. Now, in a few moments I'll get those ready. When I'm properly prepared, I'll go through them. I'll go through the driver standings and the constructors standings. But I do just want to try and pop the camera somewhere that might be a little bit entertaining for the remainder of this practice session. In the practice session as well, the drivers now, they'll have the fuel in the car for whatever they're going to do their first stint on, so they'll be getting used to how much fuel is in the car, because obviously the car's handled so differently with that extra fuel, the extra weight. May even have to make an adjustment to the front wing to adjust the balance of the car. Maybe even adjust their brake bias and things like that as well. Okay, so on to the Drivers' Championship standings then. As many may know, Sander Kallas is leading the way on 220 points. We also know he's not racing here tonight. I say tonight, I keep saying tonight, my apologies, this afternoon. So Felix would have had a chance to catch up to him, but unfortunately Felix, who is in second place on 110 points, is also not on the track, meaning that Sergei Eras, who is looking very quick here in Hungary, who's on 109 points, may be able to go past Felix van Delft in the driver's standings. In fourth place we've got DeWald Nell on 87 points, while Lucas Schmidt is on 85. Christoph Schoer has 73 points, so quite a fight for points between De Woldnell, Lucas Schmidt, Christoph Schoer could have that battle out on track today. We've then got Adam Maguire and Danny van der Neat both on 53 points. So we then have Lucas Alves in 9th place on 46 points. Cody Blanton rounds out the top 10 on 43 points. I'm not going to go through the rest of the drivers because there's a lot of them, and I'm not sure which ones are going to be racing for the remainder of Ace. But that's your top 10 anyway. So battles to keep an eye out for today is Nell, Schmidt, Schoer, and what's going to happen to Sergei Eras as to whether he can get that 2 points to go past his teammate. In the constructors standings, we've got, surprise, surprise, Netrex Grand Prix leading the way. Their team's got a total of 273 points, Sander Callas having 220 of them. Flag to Flag are in 2nd place on 166 points, while Ghost Speed Racing Team is in 3rd place, only 12 points behind them. Avid Chronic Racing are in 4th on 135 points, and only 5 points behind them is the Flag to Flag Orange Team. However, I believe it's the Orange Team that Felix van Delft races for, so they may not score points today. In 6th, we've got the Deltec Racing Team on 98 points, while in 7th place and at the head of a very tight battle of points, 7th is Netrex TPL on 55 points. We've then got Invictus Motorsport on 54, Invictus Black on 50, Avid Chronic Racing Blue Team on 46, Ghost Speed Racing on 38 points, Des.IT Brem GP on 37 points, Team Horizon on 35. We've then got Avid Chronic Racing Grey Team on 34, with VB Mad Cape on 29, Mad Cape on 25, Ghost Speed Engineering and F1 Champs Racing both on 13 points, while the Pushrod Racing Team has 4, and the NRWO Squire Motorsports Team has had 1 race with 0 points. So, with 3.5 minutes left of this particular practice session, let's see what info I can get from the timing screens. Let's see, Lucas has been out there, done 4 laps, and I do think he's going to potentially feel quite aggrieved at that qualifying session, or at least I think he'll feel that he had the opportunity to take pole position. He's just done a couple of practice starts, so we'll have an eye on him doing that. Always a good idea. Looked like a good getaway for Lucas Schmidt, and this is a track where a good getaway could make all the difference. It is quite a long run down to turn 1 with many varying braking points. It's got quite a lot of tarmac area down at turn 1. However, if you're on the inside and you brake a metre too late, you're going to be heading a little bit like a Starship Troopers torpedo, and that film's probably way older than the majority of people that are going to watch this film reference, over many people's heads. I mean, I actually made, would you believe, I was talking to a couple of the drivers in the Ghost Speed Racing Team the other day and found out that they were twins, and I said, oh, so which one of you is Arnie? And the response I got was, what are you on about? I'm like, hang on, what do you mean, what am I on about? I was like, please don't tell me that the film reference I've just made is before your time. And for anyone that was born or after the year 2000, go and have a watch of the Twins film from 1988, because it's a classic, and it has Arnie in it. So he didn't get the reference because it was about 9 years before his time, but there you go. So we've got 2 minutes left of this practice session now, the warm-up session before the race, and I'm interested to see as well Dmitry Zarahov is currently 7th on the timing, and you know what, he's actually gone for the option tyre, so he may choose to start the race on the option tyre. But if that's the case, I'd be a little bit surprised, because he had the opportunity to qualify, so he may as well have done qualifying to see if he could get into the top 3 and to see if he could gain a few places, as we have a car off track at turn 11, so obviously they've gone off at turn 10. So yeah, I'm a little surprised that Dmitry Zalahov has gone for the option tyre there. I really thought he may have gone for the primes, because the Hungarian Grand Prix, with the tyres that we've got in Formula Sim Racing this year, probably looking at a 2-stop strategy, maybe a 3-stop. You could be looking at an option prime or an option prime, but you're going to need a very long prime run, or you're going to need to be very kind on your option tyres. But at the same time, a 3-stop may be quicker. but if you get traffic, it's never going to be quicker. The advantage for some of these guys in Aces, there's not going to be a lot of traffic. So someone like Dmitry Zalahov may have been able to benefit by starting on the prime tyre and going long, because as long as he could stay within, what, 20 seconds of the leaders, everybody would come out behind him and find it difficult to overtake. All of a sudden he could bring himself into the race, and I would say maybe he's listening to this, but he won't be, because I'm recording it and it's not live. Okay, so the drivers are now onto their last laps in this practice session, so it won't be long until we get ready to form up the grid, and something tells me it's not going to take me a long time to go through the grid order once this formation lap is underway. However, we do have George Winter sitting on pole position, who by the looks of it has not even ventured out onto the track at any point through this practice session. Oh no, he did venture out, just did not complete a lap. So interesting tactics maybe then from George. So now we're into the stage where drivers make their final preparations, final adjustments to setups. And here we go then. Ready, the drivers will form up on the grid. So I'm just going to play another quick intro and promo. Okay, so the formation lap is underway, and we do have George Winter sitting on pole position for Avid Chronic Racing Blue. In second place we have Sergei Eras for Flag to Flag, and in third place we have Danny van der Neet for NetRex Grand Prix. So he's going to be trying to score as many points as he can to open up that gap to the Flag to Flag orange team. In fourth we have Lucas Schmidt, and I reckon we could see fireworks from him early on in the race here. He's in the Avid Chronic Racing car. And in fifth place we have Dewald Nell for Deltec. Dewald's had some interesting races so far this season, but I think he's been waiting, or luck has been waiting to give him some luck at one particular race. You never know, this could be it today. In sixth place we have Christoph Schauer for Ghost Speed Racing. Sixth, right in the middle of the pack. Tricky, it's going to be tough to go forwards. It's going to be tough to keep the cars behind. In seventh place we have Victor Ivanov for Des.IT Brem GP. Nice white car then, so that should be easy to spot in Christoph's mirrors. In eighth place we have Shyam Najam for Flag to Flag Orange. So there is a Flag to Flag Orange car out there trying to score some championship points, very much needed. In ninth place we have George Chatsipantelis. Let's see what George can do today. Hopefully he'll be able to get to the end without any issues. And in 10th place we have Arif Roslan rounding out the top 10 for Invictus Black. In 11th we have Fabian Roof, who's gone for the prime tyre. Good choice that is for the Avid Chronic Racing Grey team. In 12th place we have Peter Schultz, also for the Avid Chronic Racing Grey team, also on the prime tyre. And then we have Dmitry Zalahov for Team Horizon, who has chosen to go for the option tyre. So he's looking at making moves from the start. So as we get ready then for the lights to come on and the lights to go out, this is probably one of George's best opportunities to take a victory, but then that could be said for Eras and Van der Neet. But here we go then, the lights are coming on, and the lights eventually go out and the race is underway. So Formula Sim Racing Ace at Hungary is underway, heading down to turn 1, and it's a fantastic start for George Winter. Second place says, yeah, that's trying to hold the tight line and it's working for him. But then Danny van der Neet is dropping down to 4th place as Lucas Schmidt makes that move up into 3rd, covers the inside, takes it defensive. And this is where it would be wise for every driver out there to decide, you know what, I'm not going to do anything daft, because if I don't, we can score points, and we've got a car into the barrier already. Excuse me. And that is George Chatzipantelis. I think there may have been a little bit of contact there, but that is George into the barrier. May have damage, may have to make a trip back to the pits. Not what you want to do at the end of lap 1. So from halfway through the first lap of the race then, George Winter had a phenomenal getaway off the line, opened up a gap straight away, and he's already got that gap 1.1 seconds, and that's going to annoy Sergei Eras, but it's possible that George has decided to go for lower fuel. He'll be quicker now than perhaps Eras might be. We'll have to wait to see what happens a little later in the race. So Eras up into 2nd place. Lucas Schmidt, I said we might see fireworks in the opening lap, and he went for the move nice and early and managed to take that 3rd place. Danny van der Neet sitting in 4th for the moment. We've got a spinner. Who's that that's dropping positions? I believe that may be Fabian Ruth or DeWald Nell. My apologies, I can't tell. I'm not going to be able to show any replays in this either. Let's see, Christoph Schoer is trying to attack the back of Danny van der Neet. And he's still within touching distance of him. But yeah, I think it may have been Fabian Ruth that had a little bit of a spin up at the final corner. I'll go back and have a quick look. Well, if it was, he's managed to latch on. No, it was DeWald Nell. DeWald Nell is down into 11th place, just ahead of Fabian Ruth here. So that is where the spinner came from. It's unfortunate for DeWald. I said maybe he needs a little bit of luck. It's not coming for him yet. He's going to have to be careful now that he doesn't push those tyres too hard. So I was talking about strategy. Could be doing a 2-stop. If you're doing 2-stop, probably looking at going to about lap 17 on the option tyre, and then 2-stopping on the primes. It'll work. Whether it's going to be quicker or not than a perhaps 3-stopper, I'm not sure. But let's see, Christoph Schoer looks like he's close to the back of Danny van der Neet, and he is close, but is he going to be close enough to attack? That's the question that I don't have an answer to yet, because I've not had a chance to tell what these cars are like around here through the final corner in dirty air. And that's the thing, you could get close, but if there's too much dirty air through the final corner, as we can see here, Danny van der Neet just pulls away, and the opportunity for a move there has gone. Shyam Najam has just lost a position though. Oh, it's a collision, it's a crash. I didn't see all of it, unfortunately, but that's Shyam Najam out of the race because his rear wing has gone. He'll realise in a moment, he'll hit escape. Yep, there we go. He's realised now he's got no choice but to hit escape. But having said that, if he was able to continue safely without getting anywhere near anybody, he may still be able to score some points here, but really he should just hit escape. So George Winter still opening up that gap. He's got it up to 2.0 seconds, dropping down to 1.8 through the slower corners, but it's looking good for George Winter at the moment. But if he is on lower fuel, he has really got to get a shift on. He can't afford to lose any time whatsoever. DeWald now trying to make his way back through the order, and he can see the Invictus car, I believe it is, ahead of him. Arif Roslan, yeah it is, who is being held up a little bit by Dmitry Zarahov. Zarahov gone from the back of the grid up to 7th place on his option tyres, so he's obviously got a bit of pace, but again, I don't know what kind of fuel loads the drivers are on at the moment. Shyam Najam has DNF'd, and unfortunately Arif Roslan just had a massive tank slapper heading into the final corner. That may have compromised any opportunity to attack. Up at the front, top 5 separated by a total of 6 seconds, but Arif Roslan getting close to the back of Dmitry Zarahov, but not able to attack. Well, this is one of those circuits where it doesn't matter how quick you are, you can catch somebody up. Getting past, whole different ball game, extremely difficult to try and do. And the problem that Arif is going to have here is if he doesn't make a move, he's going to have DeWald Nell, Peter Schultz, Fabian Ruth on the back of him in no time. Just going to have a quick look at the battle between Danny van der Neet and Christoph Schoer, because they are getting quite close, and these guys are in a similar situation, although a little more spread out. So I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are pacing themselves a little bit. They need to make their tyres last as long as physically possible, because undercuts are probably not going to work around this track. Arif Roslan closer to Zadarov than I've seen him before. And he realises he's going to have to take action, because here comes the Wold Nell on the back of him into turn 12. Nobody decides to try and make a move. Might be wise at this stage of the race. With so few drivers and plenty of points up for grabs, it's worth being sensible and picking your moments at the correct time. So Arif Roslan, are you able to keep your car a little more stable on this occasion? Has a twitch on the exit of the corner. This may give De Wold Nell the opportunity. And De Wold's got a good run, but without DRS, these cars do not have DRS, without that extra boost of speed, he's not quite able to use any bonus to catch up and pass. And having said that, could have always just ran a little less wing. Problem with that is sector 2 all of a sudden becomes massively difficult. Well, this is the closest battle on track at the moment. 7th place, Dmitry Zadarov holding up 2 cars, with 3 cars trying to catch up to the back of him. And it's not going to be long until Peter Schultz is on the back of De Wold. Now, see him coming into the shot now, bringing his teammate along, Fabian Ruth. Oh, I think Zadarov just made a little bit of an error. And while trying to capitalise, Roslan got a little bit out of shape, perhaps pushing his car a little bit too hard. He's looking ever so quick through sector 2, but he can't do anything about it at all. And I have just heard the sound of cars versus barrier, or cars versus other cars. However, I can't see anybody dropping down the order. So Dmitry Zadarov at this now train of 4 cars, soon to be 5 cars. He's going to come under a lot of pressure. I am keeping an eye on those top 5, and those times are still... Arif Roslan. Do you need new underwear, my friend? Because I think if I was in that car, I would. I wasn't fully on board with him when he had that tank slapper, but I think De Wold Nell has just had a sympathy one for him as well. Arif, he's really trying to apply the pressure. I think he's realised that he's quicker through sector 2, but not as quick in a straight line. And this is the compromise of setups, that Dmitry Zadarov perhaps has his set to make moves down the main straight and hold people up through sector 2, whereas Arif Roslan has got his set up to be quick through sector 2, but is now finding out he can't make moves through sector 1. We're right on board again with Arif then. He's ever so close to the back of Dmitry Zadarov here, but there's absolutely nothing that he can do about this. And as I mentioned, Peter Schultz closed in on this battle right on the back of De Wold Nell. And De Wold Nell, I mean, he's in a similar situation to Arif was. I mean, De Wold has got to be careful of what happens behind him, but he needs to make moves if he can. I mean, it may be beneficial for De Wold to apply a little bit of pressure to Arif and hope that Arif makes a mistake, because he has been showing signs of that potentially being a possibility. Now, I know as soon as I jump away from this battle, we're going to end up with some action, so I am sticking with it for the moment while keeping an eye on the gaps between the leaders. It looks like George Vinter is just holding that gap to 2 seconds, which if he is on a lower fuel load, his 3-stop strategy might not work for him, as Arif Roslan once again gets ever so close to the back of Dmitry Zadarov. What he might want to do is, if he can risk it, is to back off through sector 1 a little bit more. Oh, De Wold Nell is off track. Unfortunately, I didn't see it. I just saw that he was losing places, so apologies for that. Like I say, I'm not going to be able to show any replays, unfortunately, but De Wold Nell drops now down to 11th place. That'd be massively frustrating for him. But yeah, Arif Roslan may find it more beneficial to actually back off before sector 2 and then use sector 2 to close up and have a real good run. Okay, quick look up at the leaders here. In 3rd place, Lucas Schmidt, just under 4 seconds off the race leader. Sergi Heras, what, a second, 2 seconds up the road, but these gaps up at the front getting ever more spread out. Danny van der Neet still sitting in 5th place with Christoph Schoer sitting in 4th, and here we go, we have action. Arif Roslan, I said as soon as I jump away from it, there'll be action, and he makes the move around the outside into turn 1. Didn't see exactly what happened before that, but we did see the move completed in the end, so apologies for that, folks. Not a lot I can do, and with being on my own in the commentary box, it's not always easy to know what is exactly happening elsewhere on the track. But that is now Arif Roslan up to 7th place, and you may be able to see how quickly he pulls away from Dmitry Zarahov in sector 2. And he needs to do that, because if he doesn't, he's going to end up under attack from Zarahov down into turn 1. But yeah, I mean, look at that. It's all a little twitchy for Roslan, but opening that gap quite comfortably. Petter Schultz now up to 9th place. He now has the hard work of trying to pass Dmitry Zarahov, and he's seen that it's not going to be easy to do on the main straight. You can also see as well De Woldnell ever so close to the back of Fabian Ruth right now. Is only, what, 2/10 behind him. Oh, he's ever so close. He's setting himself up for a nice run through the final corner. Getting out of the dirty air. There may be a cross of dirty air. No, he's trying to stay out of it completely. And it's not worked for him. He did run a little bit wide. And a little bit unlucky there. Quick jump at Peter Schultz. Not close enough to make the move. I'll head back to De Woldnell, who's going to go for the move. Having a look up the inside. Fabian gave him the room, but De Wold, unfortunately, took a little bit too much apex. Got the car slightly out of shape. So all of the action then at the moment coming from the lower half of the grid, with a few drivers losing positions early on. Now, let's see. I mean, Dmitry is under attack again from Peter Schultz. Dmitry was able to gain places very quickly early on, and then he's kind of got himself into a position on the road where he's not really been able to gain anymore. He's just losing way too much traction, way too much time through sector 1. Whereas Arif Roslan, who has now managed to get ahead of Dmitry Zarahov, he's already pulled himself 2-3 seconds up the road. Just going to show how much time he will have lost in those 10 laps or 9 laps stuck right up his gearbox. Now, whether he's going to be able to catch up to Viktor Ivanov or not, I do not know, but I'm pretty sure he's going to give it a damn good try. Let's have a look at De Woldnell, still having a few sneaky looks where he may be able to make the moves, but 10 laps into the race, and now at that point of the race where the option tyres are going to start screaming enough. Their lap times are going to phase out a little bit. The prime tyres are going to come into their own. They're just going to be ever so consistent and potentially also quicker, which is why I think we'll be seeing first round of pit stops anywhere from sort of lap 15 to 18. What'll be interesting is to see what tyres people go on to for their second stint. George Winter still holding that gap to 2 seconds to Sergei Yaras in second place, and I mean, that could be tactical. He's opened up a little bit of a gap, now make the tyres last longer than anybody else if you can. De Woldnell is ever so close again to the back of Fabian Ruth, but not close enough, unfortunately. Let's see, we do have Viktor Ivanov not too far away from Christoph Schoer. Second between those two though. Christoph in 5th place and Viktor Ivanov in 6th. Let's see, I mean, if these guys, if the leader pitted now, where's he going to come out? He's going to come out about just behind Viktor Ivanov, but just ahead of Arif Roslan. So in many respects, Arif Roslan needs to try and get a shift on if he can, but there's a damn good chance that he's taken way too much out of his tyres already to be able to close the gap to the leaders. Is he closing to Viktor Ivanov? I mean, let's see. Their last laps. Viktor Ivanov a 1:21.5, Arif Roslan a 1:21.7. So the answer to that will be no, the gap is not coming down. It's only going to be getting a little bit bigger. This is now where we get into the very cool, very difficult stage as a solo commentator, as the leading pack of cars gets quite spread out and the lower pack of cars are also just beginning to get a few gaps between them, as to what I might end up having to talk about during the rest of the 58 laps of this race. I'm sure I'll think of something. So for George Winter, I'm wondering actually whether he has won a race in Ace before. I will have a quick look at that, because if he has, then it won't be anything new to him. But if he hasn't won an Ace race before, then he could be on for taking his first victory in Ace. Also, George Winter is currently sitting 15th in the drivers' standings. And if he was able to score the 25 points here, put him on 55, that'd jump him up effectively at the moment, if nobody else scored a point, to 7th place from 15th. So it'd be a fantastic haul of points for him. Let's see, George Winter. He has, I'll probably get a notification maybe at some point as well, of telling me that he has or hasn't. Let's see, I'm trying to have a look. I mean, he's been racing since 2014 and he's not a slow driver, so I wouldn't be surprised if he has. I will keep looking. Let's see. No, you know what, I don't think he has won in Ace. He had he's raced in Ace in 2015. Yeah, I do not think he's won. So he could be on for taking his first victory in Formula Sim Racing in the Ace division. If I am wrong with that, I do apologise, and if I've just cursed you, I also apologise for that. So don't crash out, because that would be an absolute nightmare. So 13 laps, I'm lucky 13 laps into the race. George Winter still leading the way, with Lucas Schmidt in second place, sorry, Sergei Eras in second place. And I mean, I'm not sure if he's fighting to keep the gap at 2 seconds or whether he's looking after his tyres. I mean, I'm not going to know until these guys go for making pit stops, or he's fighting, he's pushing. Car getting a little bit sideways through turn 12 there. He's definitely trying to close that gap. And nobody heading into the pits just yet. In third place we've got Lucas Schmidt, who was shown to be very quick in qualifying, but doesn't seem able to close the gap up. I mean, he's 4.6 seconds behind the leader at the moment, not able to close that gap. And the option tyres are really beginning to suffer now. Danny van der Neet sitting in fourth place, 12.5 seconds off the race leader. But still within an opportunity to get a podium. We'll never know what's going to happen throughout the remainder of this race. In fifth place we have Christoph Schoer, who's still trying to apply pressure to Danny van der Neet. But I do know that Christoph also hasn't had a massive amount of practice time. I'm not sure about the rest of the drivers, but less practice you have, the less prepared you're going to be, apart from the odd anomalies where people come along without a lot of practice and just go ridiculously quick. Slightly frustrating that, by the way, folks. I'm just going to have a quick look at Peter Schultz, still close to the back of Dmitry Zarahov. And he's trying ever so hard to attack. But this is where, for Peter Schultz, he's on the prime tyre. His prime tyres will be better than Dimitri's option tyres now. This is a fantastic opportunity for Peter Schultz, and if he gets the chance, he's going to have to go for it. Just to quickly finish running through the order as well. Viktor Ivanov still 1.7 seconds behind Christoph Schoer. Arif Roslan, let's see, 11 seconds behind Viktor Ivanov, so he's still trying to close the gap. And then we've got Dmitry Zarahov. Arif Roslan has managed to open up a 7-second gap to Dmitry Zarahov. That's how much time it cost him in those opening laps. So then we've got Dmitry Zarahov, the car ahead of Petter here. And then Petter in 9th place. Oh, and he's pushing hard. A lot of understeer. Petter's teammate Fabian Ruth in 10th place. Now, I'm pretty sure as well that I saw. I could be wrong. I thought when Peter Schultz was racing in Pro, he was in a green car. I could be wrong, maybe he's always been an avid current racing driver. I know he has only recently moved to Ace, but fair play to him, himself and Fabian Roof. I mean, they're not in a bad position at the moment. I mean, anyone from, let's see, 7th down, or even 5th, 6th down that pits is potentially going to come out behind them. So they're still in quite a strong position for a decent points haul. Let's try and see if we've got any close battles. Petter's really applying the pressure. De Wolde now is quite far back now. I'm not sure if he has had an issue or whether he has made a pit stop. See, jump on board and he's on the option tyre. I will go and check whether that is whether that was a pit stop or whether he's just had. No, he has made a pit stop, yeah. So he did 11 laps on the option tyre, and he's gone on to another set of options. So pit stops in play for De Wolde now. That would potentially suggest to me as well that he could be on a 3-stop strategy, which if he is, he'll probably use the options 3 times in the race and the primes once, or he'll do 2 and 2. We'll have to wait and see. Fabian Roof has lost a little bit of time here to Peter Schultz. Peter Schultz just cannot do anything about Dmitry Zarohov down the straight. Massively frustrating for him. So similar to Roslan earlier on, Dmitry too quick on the straights but too slow through sector 2 to really attack him. So we're into the pit stop window now then. None of the leaders have pitted yet, but I'm sure it won't be long. The question is, have they worked out whether attempting an undercut with option tyres is going to be quicker and gain time, or whether an undercut with prime tyres is going to lose time? All factors that these drivers may have had a look at. And George Winter, he's not wasting time. He maybe has been running a lower fuel. He's into the pit straight away from the lead. He should come out in a nice window. If he goes to the option tyres, he could gain time. I mean, the gap was about 2 seconds, and it is the option tyres he's stayed on. Yes, it is. And let's see, Lucas Schmidt into the pits as well. Lucas has gone for the prime tyre though. So it will cost him a bit of lap time from his outlap onwards, but hopefully could benefit him later on. Sergi Eras then inherits the lead of the race. Let's see where Lucas has come out. Come out in 6th place with a little bit of a gap to Arif Roslan in 7th place. So anybody that was behind Lucas before he pitted is potentially going to come out behind Arif Roslan, and then there's a 10-second window. But ideally they want to come out ahead of Arif. But this is where for George Winter, if he can pump in some really good laps now, he may be able to stretch that lead over Sergi Eras. Let's see if Sergi Eras is going to be heading towards the pits. Now, one thing I do know is, I mean, on many occasions going longer this year in Formula Sim Racing gains you so much extra time, but it all depends on the tyre the other driver pits and puts on, because the option tyres, I mean, it's a 120.9 for Sergi Eras now. Obviously I won't know what lap time George Winter does until his next lap. So 120.9 as a reference, and obviously if George Winter goes quicker than that, then his options with heavier fuel are faster than low fuel worn options. And that's the thing the drivers are going to have to try and take into account. Christoph Schoer still right behind Danny van der Niet. Neither have pitted yet, but in the pits is Arif Roslan. So he's going to open up. He's actually going to open up that little bit of window that I mentioned to now being a much bigger window. It is the prime tyres for Arif Roslan. He's going to come out potentially just ahead of De Wolde now. You know what? It could be close. It could be close between them on the exit of the pits. De Wolde heading down the start-finish line now. Is he going to take it, or no, he's just a little too far back? But it's option tyres for De Wolde now, and it's prime tyres for Arif Roslan. So this is an opportunity for De Wolde now to see how well his 3-stop strategy might work. Now I can see that Danny van der Niet and Christoph Schoer only half a second between them, but it's been like that for most of the race. Let's see, Fabian Roof has managed to get ahead of of his teammate, and Sergi Edas still not pitting. Neither is Danny van der Neet, neither is Krzysztof Skoa, neither is Viktor Ivanov, but Krzysztof Skoa may have an opportunity here. I think it's the closest he's been for quite some time, and I think he realises there's cars behind him that are on brand new tyres that are going to be attacking very early. If they get the opportunity, because just behind Viktor Ivanov is George Winter and Lucas Schmidt, and what Winter can't afford is to have any time loss behind these guys. If he does, then whatever Sergi Edas does could put him into the lead of the race. So it's a crucial phase for George Winter, and we can see that he is closing up ever so quickly onto the back of Viktor Ivanov. And the benefit for George Winter is the fact that he is on brand new option tyres. They're going to have more grip, they're going to have a better lifespan, they're going to accept a little bit more of a pounding, but it doesn't mean they'll last as long, and it could still cost him. I mean, if it costs him any more than 2 seconds, that's the lead of the race gone. And I also know that Krzysztof Skoa is still ever so close. I'm going to have a quick look. Is he close enough to attack? I don't think he is. Sergi Edas still not gone into the pits just yet. But I'm interested to see what George Winter's going to do here. I mean, this is where if we were live, I think people would be telling Sergi Edas, do not pit. Krzysztof Skoa into the pits. Not a bad decision, that. Get out of the way and hopefully find some clear air. George Winter then needs to make this move, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's got phenomenal straight line speed that's going to allow him to do it straight away down into turn 1. He hasn't got phenomenal straight line speed, he can't make the move. So it's another lap, and now we're into excuse me, costing time. And for anyone that watches Game of Thrones, Ivanov, winter is coming. I still can't believe we've got to wait over a year for the next Game of Thrones seasons, but anyway. So George Winter is trying to gain, but he's going to have to be ever so careful. Lucas Schmidt, pushing a little bit too hard through turn 4. As I saw him a little bit off track there. What's the gap between Winter and Schmidt? 9 seconds. It was 10 seconds. It's down to 9 seconds. So Winter is losing time. Lucas Schmidt is gaining time. I don't think Winter is necessarily losing time to the race leader. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that. There's so much going on with so few cars at the moment. And Sergi Edas still, he's in the pits now. That is potentially crucial. Where is he going to feed back out? Danny van der Neet, is he going to take the lead of this race, or is he into the pits? I think he's going to take the lead of this race. Sergi Edas goes for the prime tyre. It's a long stop. Danny van der Neet into the pits. George Winter, he's made the move, making the move. He's going for the move into turn 1. Up the inside. Ivanov can't do anything about it. So that's George Winter back into the lead of the race. And even though he's had a bit of traffic, he's actually gained quite a bit of time. 2 seconds he's gained over Sergi Edas. So staying out longer has not benefited Sergi right now, but if it means 1 pit stop less, it could. I mean, he's done what, 20 laps on the option tyre. That's quite a damn good stint on those tyres. But that's a 2-stop strategy where George Winter, I was right, lower fueled the cars, going for a 3-stop strategy possibly, or a longer prime. Well, no, what tyres is Winter on? If Winter is on options, yeah, he's on a 3-stop strategy. The amount of laps that Winter did on his option tyres, unless he's going to do one hell of a donkey-ass long prime stint, which will be so slow it would be more painful than childbirth, so I'm told. Yeah, this could get interesting towards the end. So, state of play at the moment then. Viktor Ivanov sitting in 2nd place, hasn't pitted yet. I expect him to be heading that way any time now. Let's see, Krzysztof Skoa still behind Danny van der Neet. Lucas Schmidt still behind Sergi Edas, 5 seconds behind. And then we've got, in 7th place, Dmitry Zarahov with an avid chronic racing car stuck behind him. But on this occasion, it's Fabian Ruth. I mentioned I may have missed the move earlier on. I'm surprised that Dmitry hasn't been into the pits yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he's going to be heading in there soon. I don't think Fabian has pitted. No, I don't think he will have pitted yet. The Fabian has still got Peter Schultz right behind him. And then we've got a bit of a gap, 10-second gap between De Wold Nel and Peter Schultz. And then Arif Roslan who DeWald has managed to get past. DeWald now has a 3-second gap on him, so DeWald trying to make moves, but his race is compromised. We won't see how his race is going to pan out until right at the end with his strategy. Okay, Christoph Schoer, a little bit too much dirty out for him through turn 4. Now making his way through turn 5 as he's stuck up the gearbox of Danny van der Niet. Dmitry Zarov, I mean, Dmitri's not that far away from these guys. If these guys start battling, then Dmitry may, well, I say that, I mean, Dmitri's going to have to pit, so he's not going to catch him up, not yet anyway. So, 22 laps completed. Plenty more to go. Not as much drama as I expected to see so far, but I don't think we're done yet as for what could happen in this race. I mean, I am surprised though. I mean, if George Winter is on the 3-stop strategy, I don't think he's going as quick as he needs to at the moment. I think he needs to be quicker. My apologies, Fabian Roof. Oh, I thought we were going to see some action, but no, Dmitry Zarahov into the pits. Peter Schultz into the pits. Dmitry, massive lock up there on his way into the pits, and Fabian is in the pits, sorry. Fabian into the pits. Fabian nearly hit the back of him. Okay, these guys, are they going to come out dead last? Unfortunately, yes they are, as Arif Roslan makes the move past them. Is Fabian Roof going to make the overtake in the pits? Yes, he is. He will absolutely love that, because now he hasn't got the overtake to make on Dmitry Zarahov. Fabian now on the option tyres. Dmitry also gone for another set of options, but Fabian has ran the mandatory tyre now. So, interesting state of play we have here. George Winter leading the way. When did he make his pit stop? So I'm pretty sure it was about lap 15. Yeah, lap 15, lap 16. So he could potentially go to lap 32. I'll have to wait to see if that is what he's going to be able to do. I mean, if he's able to go to 32, one set of primes might be doable, but it's going to be a painfully long prime stint. As Viktor Ivanov into the pits, where's he going to come out? He was behind Danny van der Niet and Christoph Schoer. Both of them have just passed him. There we go. So Viktor Ivanov, after his pit stop, is not going to have gained anything. Not really lost anything either. He's on the prime tyre. Christoph Schoer on the prime tyre. And Danny van der Niet on the prime tyre. So they're all on the same compound. It's just going to be a case of who is quicker. So by the looks of it, closest battle we have on track at the moment is Dmitry Zarahov on his option tyres, trying to catch up to Fabian Roof, who is also on the option tyres. Gap at the lead, 6.2 seconds. I mean, overall, George Winter needs that whole pit stop window somewhere in the phase of this race. I mean, looking at the state of play now, if George was to pit again now, he'd come out just behind Lucas Schmidt, and that'll be the key part for him when he comes out of the pits having clear air. So he may be able to make the time up over the course of the next couple of stints, but I mean, even with a 4-second gain since his first pit stop, I don't know, that's not enough. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I mean, it will be exciting if Sergey is leading the race, and George is going to have to try and catch him up. Danny van der Niet has managed to open up a little bit of a gap now to Christoph Schoer after their pit stops. It could be a case of Danny just feeling a little bit more comfortable on the prime tyre in comparison to Christoph. And Christoph is going to have to be careful of Viktor Ivanov closing that gap, because Viktor's looked quite stable throughout the first part of the race, and I'd say he's looking on a bit of a charge. I think he's closing that gap down as well. I mean, what is the gap now? 2 seconds. So yeah, I think Viktor Ivanov may get the benefit here of the prime tyre, and this could be the factor of if you've had limited practice and you haven't been doing a lot of practice on the prime tyre, That's changed from an option tyre, low fuel, even if it's worn tyres, to a heavy fuel prime tyre can be massive. It can feel absolutely awful. So Viktor Ivanov, is he closing that gap? Let's have a look. It's 2 seconds still, so he's trying. He really is trying. Now let's see, George Winter quicker than Lucas Schmidt at the moment, but Lucas Schmidt's in a little bit of no man's land, unfortunately, in a sense of that, to a degree, third place is pretty much secure, as long as he doesn't bin it. The problem is with this track, you can bin it at a moment's notice without warning. It can be that vicious. So he's got to make sure he keeps concentrated, he keeps focused, running the prime tyre, and just take. I mean, he's going to lose time to George Winter at the moment with Winter on options, but yeah, just keep focused and work those times. Stick to the strategy and see if you can make it work. I mean, the benefit for Schmidt is that you can still see Eras ahead of him. He won't know what tyres Eras is on at the moment. Let's see, Eras is on the prime tyre, so they're on the same compound of tyres, so if their gap stays the same, that's not too bad for Lucas Schmidt. I mean, having said that, Winter, on his now really beginning to wear options, is not opening the gap up on Sergey anymore. Sergey beginning to close that gap in, so George is going to have to really time when he pits to perfection. Okay, I mentioned about Viktor Ivanov, is he getting closer a moment ago. He's managed to get the gap down, I believe, to 1.5 seconds. And maybe he's going to be able to give us a little bit of action. It would be nice. So looking at the gaps between the drivers here, so let's see, 6.7 seconds between first and second, 4.5 between second and third, and then a big 15-second gap to Danny van der Neet, and 3.5 seconds behind him is Christoph Schko, and then Viktor Ivanov, yeah, he's managed to get it under the 2 seconds, but he's still working hard on it. Peter Schultz behind Dmitry Zarahov by 1.5 seconds. That might be something we have to keep an eye on, but since Fabian Ruth has managed to get ahead of Dmitry Zarahov, albeit in the pit lane, he's managed to pull out 2.2 seconds. Whether he's going to be able to catch up to Arif Roslan or not, I don't know, but De Wolde now, he's up to 7th place, but he's going to be pitting again somewhere within the next 3 laps, so that's going to put him, what, possibly right behind Peter Schultz again. So it's going to be tricky and interesting to see what happens there. Viktor Ivanov losing quite a bit of time on this lap. Lost about 0.8 of a second, 0.6 of a second on that lap. So maybe trying to push a little bit too hard. Can't really afford to do that too much. But for George Winter though, looking a bit comfortable out there at the moment. Let's see, it was 16 laps he did on his first stint, so yeah, he's going to be, I mean, he could pit any time within the next 2 or 3 laps, so I've got a feeling it's got to be for another set of the option tyres, and that may be where he'll be able to get the maximum benefit out of his strategy. Let's see, if he pits, he comes out behind Lucas Schmidt and ahead of Danny van der Neet with clear air, probably about 10 seconds worth of clear air, and then pump in as fast a lap time as possible, and then hope that Lucas Schmidt is out of the way by the time he catches him up. Okay, let's see, Peter Schultz still a couple of seconds behind Dmitry Zarahov. To a degree though, I mean, nobody's able to really compete with George Winter's pace at the moment. I mean, going on last laps, it looks like, yeah, I mean, he's putting in the fastest lap times. It could just be the fuel, it could just be the strategy, but whatever's quickest for you, you have to go with. Viktor Ivanov losing a little bit more time to Christoph Schko, unable to close that gap up. But for George Winter, I mean, so far he's on lap 29. It's been 28 laps of pretty much sheer bliss for him so far. So all he needs to do is match that distance again and a little bit more, and he can go on and take the victory, which will be absolutely massive for him in the standings. It'll be massive for Avid Chronic Racing Blue as well. A bit of a dent perhaps for Sergi Edas and Schmidt. I mean, I do wonder whether Schmidt was put off so much in that qualifying lap that it affected his practice, his warm-up session and his race, or whether it had no effect whatsoever. But George Winter looking very, very comfortable out there at the moment. Sergi Edas, he's trying hard to keep the gap as minimal as it is, or close up. He has been closing up. Let's see, last lap. George Winter 21.4, Sergi Edas 21.5, just goes to show the drop off of the option tyre. Sergi Edas only a tenth slower on the harder compound tyre, carrying higher fuel, so definitely a switching point of the race coming up for George Winter. For Sergi Edas though, I mean, to be a fantastic result to take the second place if he's able to do so. I mean, he's got a nice gap back to Lucas Schmidt in third, who seems to be on a similar strategy as himself. As De Wolde now enters the pits, is it going to be for a set of option tyres? I reckon it's going to be, if he does another stint on options. Take him to what, lap 45? Yeah, it's option tyres, lap 45, and then primes at the end. But where's he going to come out? Is he going to come out ahead of Zarahoff? Zarahoff goes past, Schultz goes past, just. So De Wolde now is going to come out in a little bit of, well, with a little bit of traffic, but also with a couple of cars he can potentially go and attack, because Peter Schultz, after making his stop, has put the prime tyres on again, and he is still kind of stuck near Dmitry Zarahoff. So De Wolde now, he should be able to catch up quite rapidly on the option tyre. Whether he's going to be able to make a move or not, I'm not sure, but he's going to be able to catch up. But at least he'll know that once he gets close enough, he'll see that Peter Schultz is on the prime tyre. He'll realise he's got an opportunity, and he will take it when it arises. Let's see, Ivanov, yep, losing more time to Christoph Schoer still. I'm hearing the sounds of what sounds like carbon fibre making contact with things, but I'm not seeing anybody losing any dramatic amounts of time or even dramatic amounts of positions. So if somebody has caused a little bit of damage, it may be to themselves without a major loss at the moment. But De Wolde now is right on the back of Peter Schultz. I think though within one more lap he'll be even closer, but not going to be able to do anything about it when he gets there. Let's see, Fabian Ruth has managed to close the gap up to Arif Roslan. He's only 2 seconds behind him now, as De Wolde now is on a charge here. I'm going to have to try and keep an eye on that if I can. I think George Winter may be in the pits. No, George Winter just seemed to lose a rather large amount of time. He lost about half a second to a second, so maybe it was just a slow lap, but definitely a bit of time loss for him there. Quick look back at De Wolde now. Yeah, he's right on the back of Peter Schultz now. I don't know whether Peter's going to fight this too hard. I mean, it may work in Peter's benefit to not fight De Wolde here, and sort of let De Wolde go and attack Dmitry Zarahoff, and then it might help Peter get past Zarahoff, because Peter Schultz kind of needs the slipstream down the main straight, but both Zarahoff and Peter Schultz just made a mess of turn 12. Peter Schultz getting ever so close to the back, not quite close enough to be able to do anything about it, but he needs to be close. He's pushing hard, too hard, a little bit too much understeer. De Wolde now going for the non-dirty air line. Excuse me, but I don't think it's quite worked for him. Peter Schultz has got a good run though. He's going to have a look. Is he going to have a look at the inside? No, he's not. But Zarahoff, big lock-up, could compromise his exit. Peter Schultz has got an opportunity. Is he going to have a look around the outside? No, he wants that inside line. De Wolde now going for the very outside line. That's wise, because optimise your own line while those two fight. But Peter Schultz, you can see from this view, he knows he's got to try and make a move because he's going to come under pressure. But this is what I'm on about. If he actively said, you know what, I'm going to lose time here, I won't fight De Wolde. De Wolde's on faster tyres, I'll let him go and attack. He'll make the move. De Wolde now is going to try over the inside into turn 6, is he? Yes, he is. A little bit of contact. Side by side they go, and Pedder, is he fighting it? Yes, he is fighting it. Up the inside, he's going to defend it, but he can't. It was a little bit forceful, but it was a little bit racy. I like that. We've had some action. Taken 33 laps, but it's we're on. Well done, DeWald. It was a little brave, it was a little physical. I wasn't riding on the T-bar cam through the chicane, so I don't know how physical it got, but it has cost Petter a considerable amount of time, but that's what I'm on about. If it have thought perhaps twice about it and gone, you know what, I might use him to benefit me, it might have worked. I'm not saying it would have done, but it might have done. Either way, DeWald has now made the move, but it's going to be difficult for Petter to keep pace with DeWald, so he's going to have to hope that DeWald is going to hold up or battle hard with Zaderhoff, and that's where he will gain the time back. Fabian Ruth is close to the back of Ari Froslan. I mentioned he was closing that gap up. He's got it down to, let's see, 1.8 seconds? No, less than a second. It is, so he is closing quite quickly, and that could be because he's on the option tyre, whereas Ari Froslan is on the prime tyre. So Fabian making the most of that, and you know what? George Winter has gone from being 5.8 seconds ahead to 4.7 seconds ahead. I think George Winter's tyres are pretty much done, you know. I reckon he'll be making a pit stop fairly soon. He's not stopping yet. I mean, what, he's pitted lap 16, so lap 32, so it looks like he's trying to eke out this stint, but he's losing too much time. I don't think it's going to benefit him. Maybe he's trying to shorten his prime stint. Ooh. Maybe that's what it is. He's gonna run long now, cost him a bit of time, but run a longer prime stint and just try and hold the gap. Either way, Fabian Ruth not able to make a move down into turn 1. Has DeWald now getting on. He's catching up to the back of Dmitry Zaderhoff. He's gained quite a bit on him, but not enough to make a move yet. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes the move fairly soon. So yeah, Ari Froslan Ruth still close together. Ivanov dropping from Christoph Schoer. And George Winter is into the pits now. Sergieras takes over the lead of the race. What tyres is it? Is it another set of options for George Winter? Yes, it looks like another set of options. He should potentially have put those on about 3 laps ago. He's lost 2 or 3 seconds. And where's he going to come out? Looks like he's going to come out in a nice, big, open bit of tarmac. 10 seconds to the car ahead, 10 seconds to the car behind. Now he's got to pump in rapid lap time after rapid lap time after rapid lap time, because I think he's lost a little bit too much time than he really would have wanted to. DeWald now still on the charge on the back of Dmitry Zaderhoff. Zaderhoff has been put under a lot of pressure throughout a lot of this race, and he's locked up going into turn 12 again. That's what created an opportunity for DeWald now to attack Petter Schultz on the previous lap. But DeWald, he's pushing hard now to really try and attack Dmitry. Now we saw that Sergieras went lap 20 on his option tyres. He's on the prime tyres now, so I reckon he'll run option prime as his total strategy. DeWald now gets ever so close to the back of Dmitry Zaderhoff there. He could have just about got out and pushed his car out of the way. Having a look at the inside of turn 2, not quite able to make the move. He is looking feisty though, is DeWald here. He knows that with the 3-stop strategy, if you've got traffic, you've got to make moves. Fabian Ruth and Roslan very close together once again. But yeah, we're not going to be seeing Sergieras into the pits, I don't think, for another, 10 laps at least. I'll have to wait and see. I'm wondering if DeWald is going to have a look down into turn 12. Zaderhoff has locked up. Oh, DeWald losing a bit of time through turn 11, losing the front end of the grip. But yeah, I think Zaderhoff has been braking as late as physically possible into 12 to avoid any potential attack. So 7/10 between Ruth and Roslan. Barely that between now Zaderhoff, and Zaderhoff going defensive. He knows that DeWald now is close enough to attack. Is he going to have a look? Is he going to go for a bit of a switchback? Takes a deeper entry point. not work for him though, unfortunately. Not able to attack or make the move. And slowly but surely, Peter Schultz is able to close in on the back of these two as they begin their fight. I am keeping an eye on the timing gap between Fabian Ruth and Arif Roslan. It is around about a second at the moment. So they are getting a little bit further apart. Oh, Zarahov wagging his tail at De Wolde now. Almost teasing him, taunting him, telling him you can't get past, you're not quick enough. But Peter Schultz is really closing in. With him being on the prime tyre as well, I mean, he's not going to have that many more laps on them, but they can take quite a bit of punishment around here. And once again, De Wolde now ever so close to the back of Zarahov. Well, when is Zarahov going to pit? I think he did about similar laps as Edas, so I don't think we'll see him pit for another maybe 3, possibly 4 laps. And just to update you as well, George Vinto, when he came out of the pits, he was about 15 seconds behind Sergei Edas. He's got it down to 13.5, so he is closing that gap, and it will turn into increasing his gap when the next round of pit stops are done. So De Wolde now not able to attack, but Peter Schultz closes the gap in on him a little more. I've got a feeling I'm not going to sing. I'm too old for singing. But yeah, I've got a feeling if I look away from this, something will happen. Lucas Schmidt into the pits. I'll go and check what tyres he's on in a moment, because I do think that De Wolde now, we've already seen him make one move into turn 6 and 7. Are we going to see him try and make another one? He was kind of looking for it, but he's not quite had a good enough exit. Zarahov misses the apex 1, misses apex 2, or a little slow through the second, but there's nowhere to make a move here for De Wolde now. So now De Wolde's going to have to be aware that if he doesn't make moves, Peter Schultz, oh, De Wolde nearly in the barrier there. Yeah, Peter Schultz may feel he's got a little bit of bumping and grinding to pay back on De Wolde now for the move that was done on him through turn 6 and 7. So Peter Schultz may feel he's got an opportunity to repay it. And let's see, Lucas Schmidt, he's made his pit stop, and he's come back out in 3rd place, 26 seconds behind Sergei Edas. I will go and check what tyres he's on in a moment. Let's see, he's on the option tyre, I think, by the looks of it. But De Wolde now, is he close enough? Is he going to chuck it up the inside? I'm surprised he's not. Maybe he's just too far behind to really forcefully go for it there. Now, something else we've got here is Lucas Schmidt has come out of the pits on option tyres, but he's just ahead of Danny van der Neet. Danny van der Neet will hope that Lucas will just drive off up the road and disappear, because Danny van der Neet can't afford to be held up, because Christoph Schoer is not that far behind. We can see him in the distance there. Christoph may need a little bit of assistance to try and close that gap up, and I knew it had happened. I go off board with them, and all of a sudden something happens with De Wolde now, and Peter Schultz makes the move. Now, I wouldn't be surprised. I think I've got a feeling that De Wolde may have gone and had a look for the move on Zarahov like he tried on Schultz, and perhaps it didn't work, but it did look like it was De Wolde now recovering, or maybe Peter Schultz attacked him. Fabian Ruth in to the pits, and guess what, he's going to come out somewhere near these guys, either just ahead or just behind. Well, I think De Wolde now, he may have been given a little bit of payback like I mentioned. So yeah, Fabian Ruth is on pit exit. He is going to come out behind these guys. Teammate of Peter Schultz. De Wolde now going for the move up the inside. Has a look for it. Didn't quite get close enough to be able to really fight for the position there. But that is now Fabian Ruth, Peter Schultz's teammate, I believe, coming out of the pits. Oh, De Wolde trying around the outside of turn 2. Not quite going to work. George Vinter has got the gap down to 12 seconds, so he is quicker than Sergei Edas at the moment. The strategy is going to be all important as Lucas Schmidt posts a new fastest lap of the race, a 20.5. And to put it into perspective, George Vinter, his last lap was a 20.7, so Lucas, and I tell you what, middle sector is where he gained it, purple middle sector. A good 2 tenths faster than George Vinter's last middle sector. although George has been on his tyres for a few laps longer. But what a battle we've got going on here. Oh, De Waldnell nearly lost it then into the barrier again, but on the opposite side of the wall this time. But yeah, what a battle we've got going on here. I mean, it's boring and spread out up at the front. I mean, it's impressive, but it's boring. Whereas down at the back here, we've got an interesting battle that people keep getting involved in and then disappearing and coming back. And yeah, I'll have to see how this is all going to end. I mean, De Wald's a little bit further back from Peter Schultz on this occasion, so I don't think he's going to be able to attack him, which would be a massive shame, because this is now just going to hurt De Wald's tyres. But for Peter Schultz, he may have more of a chance now of attacking Dmitry Zarahov. Zarahov's tyres must be just about dead. He's going to be making a stop soon, so Peter Schultz needs to apply as much pressure as he can. Over the front though, Sergei Eras, he's continuing on his prime tyres. As I mentioned, he pitted lap 20. He's now done 20 on these prime tyres, and I would expect him potentially to do another 5 laps maybe, and then that could put him on another 25 lap prime stint, which could work quite nicely for him. I mean, being able to get 20 laps out of the options at the start is what has made his strategy possible. I know personally I can't get that amount of laps out of them, but maybe my setup and my driving is just a little bit more aggressive. I mean, De Waldnell still close. This battle, it's really close, and Fabian Roof is beginning to gain on these guys as well. But I think Sergei Eras Sergei Eras is closing up to this as well. So he's going to want to be making his pit stop before he gets involved in these, really. Peter Schultz, is he able to make the move? He has a look, but he's not quite able to make it work down into turn 1. He's still fighting it though. Is he going to have a look up the inside? No. Deciding to play the safe game. I must admit, whoever finishes, if points only go down to 10th place in Ace, whoever finishes in 11th, I think should get a bonus point, just for sticking with it. But yeah, at the moment it's Fabian Roof, but he's closing in on Zarahov Schultz now, and he's only what, 2 seconds or a second and a half behind De Waldnell right now, and De Waldnell is not far behind Peter Schultz, who we're on board with now. Zarahov is struggling on his tyres. He's missing apexes quite a lot, but it can happen. Oh, Peter Schultz clipped the curb, but De Waldnell is not close enough to capitalise. That's unfortunate for him. I do just want to check. I want to make sure that is Sergei Eras. Yeah, it is. Sergei Eras is closing up on this battle, which, well, I was going to say it could be costly, but you know what? It could play in Fabian Roof's hands. Fabian Roof, he doesn't mess about, gets out of the way, latches onto the back of Sergei Eras, goes past all of these 3 while they get blue flags. George Winter to Sergei Eras, just under 12 seconds. De Waldnell really trying to fight this, as is Peter Schultz. I mean, I'm surprised, I don't know if I'm surprised actually, that there haven't been more risky attempts at moves, but at the same time, yeah, I want to see overtaking, but what we don't want to see is reckless attempts at overtaking resulting in cars not finishing. Now, sometimes people don't like corks in bottles, especially alcoholics. They just take time. They waste part of their day. But Zarahov is definitely a cork in the bottle today, but it's what I like because it means that we've got this action, and now Sergei Eras is on to the back of Fabian Roof, and this is now, I want to see how clever you might be, Fabian. I want to see what you're going to do. Hopefully he's aware that the car behind him is the current race leader. If he doesn't waste time, I mean, it's possible that Sergei's, oh, there we go, he's not wasting time, lets him through, perfect. Now he needs to follow him, capitalise on when he catches the cars ahead of him. He's only going to have maybe 2 laps of potential capitalisation, but he's going to have to go for it. What's happening up just ahead? De Waldnell can't attack, neither can Peter Schultz. George Winter still the gap, 11.8 seconds to Sergei Eras. Viktor Ivanov has lost more time to Krzysztof Skoa, down to 5 seconds. De Wolde now lets Sergi Edas through and does it beautifully, not allowing Peter Schultz, I keep saying Peter Schultz, my apologies, Fabian Ruth, not allowing Fabian Ruth to capitalise on him. But if Fabian had just been a little bit closer and smarter, maybe he'd been able to do it, because look how close he is now. De Wolde, I've seen him do it before where he's played this clever. If he can now get close, what can De Wolde now do on Peter Schultz, if anything? Because like I mentioned, I mean, Sergi Edas is going to be making a pit stop soon, and the last thing De Wolde now is going to want to see is Sergi Edas heading into the pits at the end of this lap. Peter Schultz just ran a little bit wide through turn 11. That's going to cost him some time, but he is right on the back of Dmitry Zarahov. It's a tricky situation for him because he wants to attack, but he's got to be aware that he's got the race leader right behind him, and he's got to give the position. He's got to move out of the way. Oh, De Wolde now got a little bit twitchy. He can see what's happening here. De Wolde may get a little bit frustrated. Peter Schultz moves out of the way. De Wolde now's not close enough to capitalise on it. Excuse me. So Peter Schultz plays an absolute blinder as well. Maybe he's got the same idea. Latch on the back of Sergi Edas. Catch that train instead, because Zarahov has got to move out of the way. But I think Sergi Edas is just a little bit too quick for these guys, that they're not going to be able to stay close enough to him to capitalise when these guys are making their pitch, are having to move out of the way for the blue flag. So where is Zarahov going to do it? He does it now. That could cost him. Although he's done it in kind of a clever place into turn 6 where it's going to be difficult to attack him. And he manages to hold on to the position. So after all that hype, nothing happens. But now these four guys are closer together than they were. Oh well, it was an interesting couple of laps for a moment. Now George Winter has just lost a little bit of time. He's gone down to 12.3 seconds. I can tell you as well that George Winter has not won a race in Ace, but he has won in Pro, so this would be his first race victory in Ace, but he's still got some work to do. I mean, I believe he's still got another pit stop to do. So we'll get into the details of that in a moment. But let's see, Peter Schultz still stuck behind Dmitry Zarahov, and De Wolde now behind Peter Schultz, and Fabian Ruth on the freshest tyres behind De Wolde. Now, Dmitry Zarahov, he's made his option tyres last quite some time now. It is considerably impressive that he's managed to keep going, but with what, 24 laps to go, you might want to go and put some prime tyres on. Krzysztof Skoa into the pits to get rid of his prime tyres. That'll be for another set of prime tyres, I reckon. 24 laps on the options, gonna be a little bit too much, I reckon. Yep, it is for a set of prime tyres. Is he going to come out ahead of Arif Roslan? Yes, he is, because Arif Roslan is just a little bit too far back. So nice looking Invictus Black car. Unfortunately, it's not been on the camera much today because it's not been involved in anything as more exciting than what's been happening around Dmitry Zarahov. But Zarahov has got to be heading to the pits. He's not ran the prime tyre yet. His tyres are knackered. Peter Schultz is applying more pressure to his brake pedal than he would want to. But no, Zarahov doesn't pit. He continues on. Sergi Edas, though, he pits. He's going to come out behind this train of cars again. He's going to come out in at least second place as well. No moves being made for the lead of the race, unfortunately. So, Lucas Schmidt, have you gained enough on Sergi Edas? Sergi just leaving the pits now. It is another set of the prime tyres, and he's got about a 5-second gap to Lucas Schmidt. So, George Winter's now got himself a 9-second gap. And I do apologise, Fabian Ruth has got ahead of Peter Schultz and De Wolde now. Why is it, guys? I go and look at something else. Stuff happens. Can't you do it when I'm watching? Peter Schultz, no, into the barrier. I think he's got some kind of problem there, because driving on the grass is slower than driving on the tarmac. It's a lot riskier as well. He's got a bit of damage. I'm wondering if he was trying to... maybe there was a bit of a coming together between Peter Schultz and somebody else. Let's see. I may be able to see... let's see... yeah, I can't tell exactly what happened, unfortunately, but I'm wondering if Peter Schultz had a bit of a problem as Ari Frosland is now into the pits. But yeah, I mean, Peter may have tried to do the DeWald move. I think DeWald now... Oh no, DeWald now, yeah, he's lost a lot of time, so there must have been a coming together between DeWald now and Peter Schultz, because both of those guys have lost a considerable amount of time. Zarahoff finally is into the pits, thank God for that. At least now, no, we're not going to have to carry him from somewhere around the track. Sat there with plenty of punctures on his car. Danny Van Der Neet into the pit as well. This will be for his last stop, 22 laps. That'll be for another set of prime tyres, I believe. Yeah, it looks like it. So Sergei Eras has got 10.5 seconds to try and catch up on George Winter. While these pit stops, let's see, is Danny Van Der Neet, he's going to come out comfortably ahead of Christoph Schoer. Is it going to be comfortably? I think it might be. Christoph's not too far away. He's closing at high speed now, but he is just a little too far back. Now, Danny Van Der Neet and Christoph Schoer were ever so close at the start of the race. Spend the whole of the first stint right next to each other, but towards the end of the race, they're going to be doing pretty much the same thing. But let's see, George Winter, what's the situation with George Winter? He's now on the back of traffic. He's catching up to the back of DeWald Nell, who has got Arif Roslan ahead of him. Arif Roslan having recently pitted, and I think Arif Roslan is about to try and make a move on Dmitry Zarahoff just to annoy everybody that's followed Zarahoff today. Can Roslan make a move straight away? No, he can't. Maybe Zarahoff is just too strong on the brakes. Or at least lights going... sorry, it's not Zarahoff. My apologies. It's Fabian Ruth. Yeah, because Zarahoff is now last, unfortunately. So yeah, it was Fabian Ruth who was trying to attack, with Ari Frosland having the fresh set of tyres. But yeah, the situation with George Winter. Let's have a look. He did 16 laps on options. 18 laps on options. He's now done 14 laps on options. He needs to stick a prime stint in. This, I think George Winter may end up banging his head against the wall. Oh, Rosland! Rosland totally sideways through turn 11. Caught the curb that I saw Peter Schultz catch earlier when I mentioned that he'd clipped the curb. That's exactly what Ari Frosland does as he moves out of the way for George Winter. Very lucky not to end up in the barrier there, and that is Winter heading into the pits for his final stop. But also DeWald Nell, is it DeWald Nell ahead of him? I believe it is. Yep, DeWald Nell ahead in the Deltec car, making what will be his final stop for the prime tyre. George Winter here, oh, they haven't got the same pit box, have they? No, thankfully not. So George Winter is now in at second place. He's going to end up in third place. I think he's just thrown away this race. George. He's 11 seconds behind Sergei Eras. 20 laps to go. Hang on a moment. George Winter's on the option tyres. Now, either my game isn't updated to show me the prime tyre, or... hang on, I'm going to have to check. I'm pretty certain George Winter has not used the option tyres, the prime tyres. Now, unfortunately, the live timing isn't showing me exactly what tyres George did his stints on. It's possible that his second stint was on the prime tyre. I would have to double check that, but either way, George is in a situation now where he's got Lucas Schmidt right ahead of him. He can see him. No, that's DeWald Nell. My apologies. Where is Lucas Schmidt? De Wolde now slowing down to let George Winter through. Not going to hold him up at all. So where is Lucas Schmidt? Lucas Schmidt is just on the exit of turn 1 now. So George Winter is, he's 7 seconds behind. He's effectively got 11 seconds to catch up in what is now 19 laps on a set of option tyres, which may get to the end, but I've got a feeling he hasn't ran the prime tyre. I'm sure all will become clear. So, situation then is that we have Sergi Eras leading the way at the moment. Doesn't have another stop to make. He can go to the end on his prime tyres. He's already done that length on the previous set of prime tyres. He's got a 2.6 second gap to Lucas Schmidt, who's in second place, but he's on option tyres. I think Lucas Schmidt might have another pit stop to do. Yes, he does. He's going to have to stop again in a couple of laps' time. He did use the prime tyres, though, on his second stint. So why is he not telling me what tyres George Winter has used? I don't know. I've got a feeling, though, he may have used his prime tyres second stint. Okay, let's not panic too much. I'm still going to panic. They might add a bit of excitement. So Lucas Schmidt is catching Sergi Eras, but Sergi Eras has got a stop to do. Viktor Ivanov is in the pits, but Danny van der Neet, is that Dmitry Zarahov he's stuck behind, who is trying to lap? Yes, it is. Zarahov moving out of the way. So Danny van der Neet up into 4th place. Viktor Ivanov coming out of the pits. He's going to be in 6th place, and he can see Christoph Schoer ahead of him. Christoph Schoer can see seen that Danny van der Neet has just got past Dmitry Zarahov, but Danny van der Neet has been able to open that gap upon him by 3 seconds from about a second when Danny came out of the pits. But Lucas Schmidt is on an absolute charge at the moment, trying to catch up to Sergi Eras. I think the car behind Sergi Eras there looks like he's trying to unlap himself, and I've got a feeling that might be Peter Schultz. It is Peter Schultz. Is Sergi Eras got a problem? Is Peter Schultz faster than him at the moment? Or is Peter Schultz just perhaps on a lighter fuel load? I don't know. It's all going a bit chaotic here at the moment. But Peter Schultz is going to have to be aware that right behind him is Lucas Schmidt, who is still in a race for the win, effectively. I mean, looking at it, if George Winter doesn't have to stop again, he's got to gain 10.5 seconds to take the victory, because Sergi doesn't have to pit again. Lucas does, so Lucas is going to be out of the equation soon. But he's still there potentially for a 3rd place. Oh, I just had a massive amount of lag looking at Lucas Schmidt as Peter Schultz moves out of the way for him. That may have cost Lucas Schmidt a considerable amount of time. It's gone from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds, the gap now between himself and Sergi Eras. Maybe it's Petter with a little bit of lag, and that might be why Sergi Eras lost a little bit of time. Now let's see, where is De Wolde now? See if that battle is still going. No, De Wolde now is all on his own at the moment. Dmitry Zarahov doesn't look like he's close to him, and Peter Schultz is in the distance. So closest battles right now is the battle for the lead, and also the battle for 5th place. Well, 4th, 5th and 6th. Whether Viktor Ivanov is going to be able to do anything about that, I do not know. But Sergi Eras, I'm trying to think if he's won a race this season. I went on about whether George Winter has won an ace race. I don't think Sergi Eras has. De Wolde now makes the move because Peter Schultz is into the pits for his final stop. Maybe whatever damage he had, or that was just his strategy. I think that may be out of strategy though. Let's have a look. Oh no, he has got to make, he had to stop, needed to put the option tyres on for the last 16 laps of the race. I would love to know though why it's not telling me what tyres George Winter has used throughout the race, because it has left me in that bit of limbo, that bit of confusion, because he's not catching Sergi Eras at the moment, even though he's on the option tyre. And if he hasn't ran the prime tyre, he's got to pit again. Which may see him still on the podium, but it would lose the he's lost any chance of a victory. Now, Sergei Adas is managing to open up the gap a little bit to Lucas Schmidt, but as I mentioned earlier, Lucas Schmidt does have another pit stop to make, and he's making that right now. So where will he come out? He's going to come out in third place again, I reckon, with about a 10-second gap to Danny van der Neet. So it's going to be, it's got to be another set of option tyres for Lucas from here. Yep, as George Winter heads through into second place. One of the back markers, De Woldenel, that looks like in the distance, has managed to unlap himself on Lucas Schmidt. So Lucas will come out in third place, 12 seconds behind George Winter. Viktor Ivanov looks like he is closing up to the back of Christoph Schoer. When Viktor came out of the pits, he was a good 3-4 seconds behind. Over the course of this stint, he's been able to close the gap up, and that could be because Christoph is on the prime tyre, whereas Viktor Ivanov is on the options. They are going to be quicker, and if he wants to make any kind of move, he's going to have to do it quick, because as we've seen, it's so easy to just get stuck behind a car. And you don't really want to get stuck behind a Go Speed car, because there's probably a little message on the rear wing for you to have a read while you're there. Maybe some of these cars need a Kindle stuck on the back with a remote in each car so you can read a book while you're driving around. Either way, Viktor Ivanov has closed that gap up absolutely rapidly. He's got an opportunity here to take 5th place. But I know from experience, Christoph Schoer is not going to make it easy for him. He's going to make him work for it. And now I've said that, you'll let him through. No. So down into turn 12, a tricky little corner. I mentioned it's a potential overtaking place, but nobody's really been able to go for it today. And I think it's because it's one of those corners where it is a potential overtaking place, so people have been braking later than the car really wants to try and avoid any kind of attack. Now, this is interesting. George Winter needs to be catching Sergei Adas, and he seems to be losing time on time, although saying that it's just adjusted again to 10.8, 10.9 seconds. Let's see, Sergei Adas last lap 21.5, George Winter 21.6, and Sergei Adas is on the prime tyre and George Winter is on the option tyres apparently, and George Winter is slower. So I'm wondering if George Winter realises that Sergei Adas doesn't have to stop again. Someone might want to tell him. So, but to be honest, I mean, it's a difficult one. I mean, if any of these guys have got race engineers, unfortunately there's no live broadcast. So Fabian Roof into the pits, yeah, there's no live broadcast. So it's not like they're able to ask the engineer what's happening on the broadcast, who might be doing what. They would have access to the timing screen, but that's all they're going to have available. Fabian Roof has made his pit stop, final pit stop. Come out on the option tyres, just ahead of De Woldenel, a few seconds ahead of De Woldenel. Where is Peter Schultz? Big gap now between Peter Schultz and De Woldenel, and Dmitry Zarohov unfortunately right at the back. He put up a damn good fight of it, but unfortunately couldn't do any more. He's now at the back with 13 laps to go. But I've got to say thank you to those guys from 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. You've given us one hell of a race to watch, while the guys up at the front were just boring. Gave us absolutely no excitement whatsoever. Although with George Winter now, I don't know if it's excitement, panic, or just technology failing, or whether it's me and old age that's led me to believe that George Winter hasn't ran the prime tyre yet. I mean, I've got a feeling... The thing is, I've said this before, I've got a feeling that I don't think the driver would make that kind of mistake, but we have seen it. I mean, let me have a look actually. I mean, looking at the lap times, the stint that he may have done on the prime tyres is similar lap times that is done on option tyres. So I don't think he's ran the prime tyre, unless he, I mean, on my screen he's definitely showing as being on the options. I'm wondering if he was perhaps planning on doing a splash and dash last lap, or second to last lap pit stop, to change compound. I don't know. Petter Schultz into the pits. I mean, to put it into perspective, I don't know, maybe George has got a problem, maybe he's got damage, or maybe there's something else happening, I don't know. But yeah, to put it into perspective, the car ahead of him is Fabian Ruth, who is a lap down, has recently come out of the pits, and he's pulling away from him. I'm trying to have a look to see if George has got damage on his steering wheel when he's got the wheel straight. No, it doesn't look like it, but yeah, Fabian Ruth is pulling away from him. Maybe George Winters realised what he's doing isn't working, and maybe it's having an effect on him. Viktor Ivanov still ever so close to the back of Christoph Schoer, as Arif Roslan is now in 7th place, a lap down. But yeah, I mean, for George Winter, I know I mentioned earlier about all the commentators cursed him. I don't know if that's what's happened, but an opportunity of a victory turning into a potential disaster. I kind of wish this was live now, and then I'd have people telling me, no, he's read the prize, mate, he's alright, he's alright. Instead, I'm left here with the timing screen telling me he's ran tyres, but I don't know which ones. And I'm like, okay, yeah, great, thank you very much. But either way, Viktor Ivanov still trying to pressure Christoph Schoer, doing a fairly good job of it at the moment. But Christoph, remember, on the prime tyre, and I said that Ivanov, he's going to have to make that move quick, because if he doesn't, he'll get stuck. And unfortunately, that may exactly be the situation he is in now, in being stuck. Now, I know some people might not like this particular racetrack, or the Ongaro ring. Oh, it's boring, no overtaking. This track isn't always about overtaking. Sometimes racing isn't about overtaking. Sometimes racing is about getting from point A, the start, to point B, the end. And if you can't do that, something's gone awry. And then obviously it's who can get there the quickest. George Winter into the pits. There's been a realisation somewhere that something was wrong. Is it for the prime tyre? It is for the prime tyre. I'm in shock. I think Winter's in shock. I think the team owner's in shock. It's gone from victory to 3rd place, and Danny Van Der Nee's only 6 seconds behind him, but Danny Van Der Nee is on older prime tyres. What has happened to George Winter in this race? He steamed off at the start, looked like he was on for a potential victory. It's all gone horribly, horribly wrong without anybody else being near him for most of the race. To now he's 35 seconds behind. He's on a 4-stop strategy. I can't believe what I've witnessed. I mean, something has definitely gone awry there. It may be a case of when he made his last pit stop, he wanted prime tyres on, but for whatever reason, options went on the car. Once that happens, he's thought, you know what, I'm going to do a load of laps on options, get the life out of them, and then I'll put the primes on. That might be what happened. Either way, it's an absolute disaster for the Avid Chronic Racing Blue Team. And George, you know what? I feel for you, mate. I feel absolutely gutted for you. But what that has done, that's promoted Sergi Eras into 1st place. He'll have no idea what's been going on with George Winter behind, other than all of a sudden he's now much, much further away. Sergi Eras, all he needs to do is get to the end. He's got a 23-second gap to Lucas Schmidt. Lucas Schmidt is on... What tyres is Lucas Schmidt on? He is on the option tyres, so he may try and close the gap, but he's not going to do 24 seconds in 9 laps. I don't even know what to say, other than let's go and have a look at Viktor Ivanov, who's still stuck behind Christoph Schoer. Oh, and the dirty air getting Viktor Ivanov there as he runs a little bit wide through turn 4. Easy to do there, with it being a blind apex corner. But it doesn't mean that drivers should be allowed to get away with running out there and going as fast as you want. But it looks like Ivanov They may have slowed down a bit there to make sure he doesn't gain any kind of lap time, which is one option that the drivers do have. Obviously, if they do run wide or cut a corner, they can back off to avoid going too quick and avoiding any kind of penalty. And it doesn't look like that's what he's done, because the gap has gone from like half a second to a second to what, second and a half. So it looks like he has lost a little bit of time there. Okay, let's have a quick look. Dmitry Zarahov, been loads of action around you today, but it looks like it might be 11th place is as far as you're going to get on this one, unless somebody falls off the racetrack. In 10th place we have Peter Schultz. He's had an interesting one, that's for sure. Highlight or low light of his race was when De Woldnell came past him in turn 6 and 7. But there's been 2 occasions of something happening with Peter Schultz and De Woldnell, I think, in the race that I've not been able to see, unfortunately. In 9th place is De Woldnell. Bit of a gap between himself and Peter Schultz now. And Fabian Ruth in 8th. A big gap between Fabian Ruth and Peter Schultz. Sorry, between Fabian Ruth and De Woldnell. Yep, a couple of corners. Is that George Winter with De Woldnell catching him up? That'd be painful. Nothing against De Woldnell, because De Wold is quick. So let's see. In 7th place we have Arif Roslan. How far ahead is Arif Roslan? Let's see, over the last few laps, might as well have gaps to each other, more useful while they're on their a lap down. So Lucas Schmidt 26 seconds behind the leader. George Winter trying to close the gap to Lucas Schmidt down to 9.3 seconds. Danny van der Neet 6.6 seconds behind George Winter now. And Christoph Schauer 4 seconds behind Danny van der Neet. Victor Ivanov, as we've seen, has been close to Schauer but not been able to capitalise in any way, shape or form. And then we've got 46 seconds to Arif Roslan in 7th place here. And then Fabian Ruth is 4.8 seconds behind. And then the field has got considerably spread out. But you know what? I think whatever mistake it is that... Oh, it's Lucas Schmidt, sorry, that De Woldnell is catching up to. Yeah. I think at some point in the last 10 laps a firework has been set off in George Winter, because he's now trying to pop in some fast laps and trying to catch up to Lucas Schmidt. He can punish these tyres. The problem is he might be driving a little bit angry. I know on a World Championship broadcast before I kind of joked that in qualifying someone said drivers can count to 12 and somebody just started a 13th lap and got disqualified from qualifying. So I know that mistakes can happen, but it kind of begs the question, what happened? How did it happen? If it was a case of he told it to put primes on, it's put options on, game error. If it's a case of he forgot to tell it to put primes and it put options on for him, driver error. Nothing anybody can do about that one. And given the length of this race, the physicality of this race, I can kind of understand that happening. It is a possibility that, because this is such a physical racetrack, there is no rest. I mean, if you get 20, 30 laps in and your arms start aching, you ain't got a lot of choice. You either pull over the road and retire, or you keep going and hope that by the end of the race your arms aren't so numb that when you go to the bathroom after the race, you're still capable of wiping yourself clean. It's that physical of a race. So it's possible that mentally George Winter's had a bit of a, I don't know, bit of a blockage there and selected the wrong tyre. I guess I won't know until post-race. Sergi Edas into the pits! What on earth? No, he can't be. He is. Has he got enough of a gap? Has he got enough of a gap to come out ahead of Lucas Schmidt? Yes, he has. So that was just, I'm going to cover him off. I'm going to put the option tyres on. I'm going to go for fastest lap. Sergi Edas did not need to pit then. This is all about pride and fastest lap. I think actually, it's not necessarily pride. That's a, oh, okay, I can win this one. I don't need to pit. I'm going to pit and show you I've done a pit for free. I don't know how this one will play out in the chats afterwards. I'm surprised that Sergi Edas went for that pit stop, because let's say, God forbid, something happens and he ends up having to need to pit again in these last 5 laps. You're gonna kick yourself. I'll kick yourself if you do. If you bin it now, I'll kick you. So, situation now then, the gap to Lucas Schmidt is 5 seconds. The gap between Schmidt and Winter, 8.7 seconds. Gap to Danny van der Neet, even 8.7 seconds. Krzysztof Skowa's got the gap down to Danny, down to 3.5 seconds. Viktor Ivanov still 1.5 to 2 seconds behind. Fabian Ruth is trying to close up to Arif Roslan. He's under 3 seconds behind now. But Sergi Eras deciding, I'm going to go and try and pop in some fastest laps. But this is where it could become a risk for him, because if you've been comfortably driving through a race, you've got yourself into a rhythm, you can keep going with it. If you think, oh, well, all I need to do is put the other tyres on, go half a second faster, I can get fastest lap as well. You can so easily make a mistake. And around here, you make a mistake and it can be painful. Very painful. Now, Sergi is able to already open up a gap to Lucas Schmidt. Winter's not able to close up to Lucas Schmidt at the moment. Let's see, Ivanov losing time now on Krzysztof Skowa. No surprise that. He's burnt up his option tyres and they don't want to play ball anymore. I am keeping an eye on Ruth and Roslan though. 2.3 seconds the gap between them. So that could come to something. But what an odd race we've had. What an odd race we've had. Maybe they've just tried to make it interesting. That is quite possible. But it is an odd race. There's no doubt about that. So Sergi Eras does go and post the new fastest lap of the race, a 1:19.5. And this is where George Winter, his head will be held in shame even more. I mean, this is blunt force trauma to the mind. To George Winter on this one now. I mean, yeah. I think everyone should give George Winter a wide berth at the end of this race, that's for sure. Okay, Krzysztof Skowa, he's managed to get the gap to Danny van der Neet down to under 3 seconds now. And Ruth is down to 2 seconds. And you know what? That's Fabian Ruth just ahead of Sergi Eras here. So while Fabian Ruth is on a charge, he's got Sergi Eras catching him up. And we saw earlier on drivers picking the right time to hold on to a position when letting the leader through. So for Fabian Ruth, he now needs to let him through at the optimal time to stay close, to really stay close. But obviously, Sergi has got much fresher tyres, hardly any fuel. But he has got a couple of laps. But this is where, with Fabian Ruth being a lap down, he doesn't have to save or doesn't have to keep that extra lap of fuel. He can use it up. And not that you can turn the engine up or anything, but you can abuse the limiter on the gears, be a lot more aggressive in the braking zones, and use up that fuel in any way that he can. He's lost about 0.3 of a second to Roslan, but he may get that back when Roslan has to let Sergi Eras through. Let's see, Krzysztof Skowa, 2.7 seconds behind van der Neet. Viktor Ivanov really struggling now. And you know what? Roslan has let Sergi Eras through at a point on the track where Ruth has not been able to pass him as well, but Ruth has been able to close the gap. He went from 2 seconds behind to half a second behind. And that's all about getting the switches around absolutely spot on. So for Fabian Ruth then, what can you do? You've only got a couple of laps to go to try and make any kind of move here. Are you going to be able to do it? Oh, Roslan sliding all over the place, and with a name like Roslan, I keep nearly calling him Aslan. That's probably over the head of quite a few youngsters as well. Never heard of The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe. Well, there we go. Sergi Eras, new fastest lap. Surprise, surprise. 1:19.501. As Fabian Ruth, he's lost a bit of time to Roslan. Roslan opening up half a second on him. So let's see, Sergi Eras. Looking comfortable. George Winter's got the gap down to Lucas to 6.5 seconds. Too little, too late, I'm afraid, George. Let's see, Christoph Schoer, how are you getting on there? He'll be able to see Danny van der Neet. I don't think he's going to be able to do anything about Danny van der Neet. See Ivanov in the background, having dropped off the back of Schoer now. I think the only hope for Schoer is the van der Neet's on option tyres, and he's absolutely destroyed them. See, he's not. He's on prime tyres, and I doubt he's destroyed them. I've got a feeling he may be quite comfortable with that one. Fabian Roof still, or again, less than a second behind. Let's jump on board through turns 10 and 11. Just far enough behind that the dirty air isn't too effective, but too far behind to really do anything down into turn 12. So it looks like De Wolde now, Peter Schultz and Dmitry Zadahov, their positions are all but secured in what they are at the moment. Let's see, 12 seconds behind Fabian Ruth, and Roslan is just too fast in a straight line for Fabian Ruth to do anything about it. Christoph Schoer is getting closer. Bit of dust from Danny van der Neet there. Maybe Danny van der Neet is seeing that gap coming down and panicking a little bit too much, struggling a little bit too much. But Sergi Adas is on to the final lap of the race. One that I think by about lap 10 was not expecting to win. By definitely lap 65 knew he was going to win. Lucas Schmidt must be struggling out there. He's lost overall 10 seconds in the last, 5 laps. So George Winter not really gaining on Sergi Adas, I don't believe, but is catching up to Lucas Schmidt. Going to have to keep a bit of a close eye on that one. But for Sergi Adas, what an end to an odd race for him. Looked like a comfortable second place, but it's going to be the victory. He's only got 2 more corners to go, and he's going to try and finish it last lap, fastest lap. Nothing anybody else can do about that. A bit too much rhyming for my liking, but there we go. Sergi Adas then takes the victory in the Formula Sim Racing round 11 at Ace here in Hungary. What an odd but fantastic race for him. Lucas Schmidt in second place. George Winter trying to close the gap. That's not George Winter right behind him. That looks like De Wolde now. Roslan and Roof, they have crossed the line. Their race is now complete. Lucas Schmidt, fantastic drive to take second place. George Winter, the inquest continues, comes home to take third. Danny van der Neet, I said he was struggling a little bit. He's got Christoph Schoer right behind him, but it's again too little too late. Danny van der Neet takes fourth place. Fantastic result for him. Christoph Schoer crosses the line to take fifth. We then have Viktor Ivanov crosses the line in 6th place, tried his best, unfortunately couldn't catch up at the end. Arif Roslan is 7th place. Fabian Roof gave it all he's got, but only to 8th place. De Wolde now, it was an interesting race around him today. Finishes in 9th with Peter Schultz in 10th. And I think he's parking that car over there with a little bit of damage on it. Fix that one, engineers. I think there may have been a problem with his car at some point. But there we go. Unfortunate for Peter Schultz. And in 11th place we have Dmitry Zadahov, who ends up with no rear wing on his car, but maybe it'll allow him to go a little bit quicker with that one. Unfortunate for Shyam Najam and George Chatsipantelis, the only 2 DNFs from today's event. I'm sure there'll be an inquest into how that one came about as well. But for Sergi Adas, starting off the weekend well for flag to flag, but in all honesty, I think even he may be surprised that George Winter didn't end up taking the victory. Because, I mean, halfway through the race it looked nailed on, but it just wasn't to be. And sometimes you got to take the wins when they're handed to you. It was definitely handed to him, to Sergi today, but he had to do what he needed to do to be in that second place, to capitalise on anybody's errors, and somebody had the biggest of all. So, victory then for Sergi Adas, for flag to flag. What that'll do for the drivers' standings, I am really not sure. Other than Sergi Adas, I think is now second in the drivers' standings, with Felix van Delft not scoring any points today. That will put Sergi Adas into second place, on 134 points. although still just under 100 behind Sander Callas, who can probably take a holiday for the next couple of races, although I wouldn't advise it, because it's always fantastic to see Sander hitting the track. Lucas Schmidt with a good result, that will move him up in the standings as well. Christoph Schoer won't be able to jump above Lucas Schmidt, and may not be able to gain enough to go past De Wolde now, but may be able to close up that deficit. Danny van der Neet will have moved from a joint 7th place up to 7th place all on his own, which is absolutely fantastic for him. What I will say now, though, is that this has been the Formula Sim Racing round 11 in the Ace Division, where admittedly only 13 drivers started, 11 of them finished. It was an interesting race all the way along. I'm still in a bit of shock about what happened there. I will say once again, apologies for not being able to live stream the event. Sometimes technical issues just play too much havoc, and the regular Ace live streamer not available today to do it. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching this along with me. Apologies if you've heard any odd noises of creaking and stuff like that. It's not my back, I'm not that old. I think I need a new chair. But I've done my best, I've given it my all, as have the drivers out there today. What a fantastic way to start off the weekend. It's just a shame we couldn't get to show it live. Anyway, well done Sergi Eras and to all of the drivers. As I mentioned, this has been Formula Sim Racing Round 11, Ace Division from Hungary. Join us again. Thank you very much.